From a man accused of hurting 8 different women in emotional, physical, and sexual ways, to a student handed $30 million to direct her first film before she even finished college. Here are 5 Hollywood kids who wasted what their parents gave them. Starting with Max Landis. He is the son of director John Landis, and for a while, he looked like one of the most promising screenwriters of his generation. His biggest early breakthrough was Chronicle in 2012, a found footage superhero film directed by Josh Trank. The movie was both a critical and commercial success. It opened to about $22 million in the United States and Canada and finished with about $126.6 million worldwide against a reported budget of about $12 million. That made it one of the clearest low-budget writing success stories of that period, and it gave Landis a real reputation as a writer who could take a familiar genre and make it feel sharper and more character-driven. That early success helped build the image of Landis as a fast, restless, idea-heavy writer with an unusual amount of confidence in his own output. He often talked publicly about how much material he had written, and the industry coverage in the mid-2010s treated him as a screenwriter who was constantly pitching, packaging, and trying to stay closely involved with his projects. He was not just known for one script. He was known for trying to turn himself into a brand. Over time, though, that image started to sour because the movies that followed Chronicle did not strengthen the idea that he was a lasting top-tier writer. He sold or got credits on projects like American Ultra, Mr. Right, Victor Frankenstein, and later, Bright. Those movies kept him in the business, but they also made it harder to ignore that his work was getting weaker after Chronicle. American Ultra and Mr. Right were both poorly reviewed, and neither was the kind of hit that could keep his momentum going. After one big breakout, his later scripts stopped convincing critics that he was still operating at that level. By 2017, Bright became the clearest sign that Max Landis could not repeat the success of Chronicle. The Netflix film starred Will Smith and had the budget and attention to put him back at the top. Instead, critics tore it apart. Rotten Tomatoes gave it a weak score, and many reviewers said it was messy, awkward, and badly written. Some viewers liked it more than the critics did, and Netflix tried to downplay the review backlash. Even so, Bright hurt Landis' reputation and made it harder to believe that Chronicle was the start of a strong long-term run. Everything around his career changed in June 2019 when a major investigation reported that 8 women had accused Landis of emotional, physical, and sexual abuse. The article described allegations spanning about a decade and included detailed claims from multiple women who said he was abusive in private and manipulative in relationships and work settings. That piece changed the public image immediately. From that point on, the conversation around him was no longer mainly about whether he was overrated as a writer. It became about the abuse allegations and what they said about his behavior over many years. One of the women quoted was Annie Baker, who said Landis became violent and put his hands around her throat after she slapped him jokingly. The reporting also includes claims that he kept degrading lists of women he had been with, ranking them in crude and racialized ways. Together, those details made the story feel bigger than one accusation or one bad relationship. They pointed to a broader pattern of cruelty, dehumanizing behavior, and repeated abuse claims from different women. The investigation also included allegations from work and social settings. One woman said he pinned her down on a set in 2007 while making sexual remarks. Another account described a roommate finding Landis on top of a woman who was reportedly confused and intoxicated. The industry reaction was serious. The allegations derailed his career, led to projects collapsing, and pushed him out of the center of Hollywood work for years. In February 2026, Paramount brought him in to work on a G.I. Joe treatment, his first major studio assignment since the 2019 allegations. But the comeback did not last. By March 14, 2026, Paramount had decided not to move forward with his pitch. His career was badly damaged, and even his attempted return ran into trouble almost immediately. And while Max Landis is defined by abuse allegations, Chet Hanks turned his own name into a running scandal of drugs, public embarrassment, and violence. Chet Hanks is the son of Tom Hanks and Rita Wilson, which meant he started with one of the most recognizable family names in Hollywood. That gave him attention from the start, but it also meant every misstep got extra scrutiny. His acting career began in 2007 with Bratz, a film that critics strongly disliked, and Rotten Tomatoes scored a 10%. A year later, he had a small part in Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. And in 2011, he appeared in Larry Crown, a movie directed by and starring his father. Those early jobs kept him working, but they did not make him look like a serious breakout actor. In the mid-2010s, his public image was hurt more by drugs and embarrassing headlines than by anything he did on screen. Under the name Chet Hayes, he tried to build a rap career. In 2015, he openly said he had been abusing cocaine and crack, and described how out of control his life had become before getting sober. That same year, British press coverage said police wanted to question him after alleged damage to a hotel room near Gatwick Airport. Whether people saw him as troubled or reckless, the result was the same. His name was getting attention for the wrong reasons. He later said his parents had sent him to a wilderness program for troubled teens when he was younger. Chet described waking up to men at the foot of his bed and being taken away, and he said the experience was painful, but also probably necessary because he was badly out of control at the time. He has also spoken about how difficult it was growing up as the child of major stars, saying that people looked at him as someone who has not yet earned anything for himself. His acting career became more credible once he moved into television. From 2016 to 2018, he appeared in Shameless as Charlie, and he later played rapper Blake Sterling on Empire. He also showed up in Your Honor in 2020 and 2021. These were not giant star-making roles, but they did help him shift from being seen as only a celebrity son with side projects into someone who could at least function as a working actor on real shows. He was improving, and he was working steadily. The strongest recent step in his acting career came with Netflix's Running Point in 2025, where he played Travis Bug, a gifted basketball player with a messy public image and a side interest in rap. The role was close enough to Chet's own reputation that many reviewers noticed the fit right away. Even with that acting win, his reputation still carries the weight of repeated public controversies. In 2021, he tried to launch the phrase "White Boy Summer," along with music and merchandise built around it. The reaction was immediate because many people thought the slogan was racially tone-deaf, and the backlash got worse because he used Jamaican patois in the song and video, something he had already been criticized for in earlier appearances, including at the 2020 Golden Globes. That made the whole thing look less like a joke that missed and more like another example of him borrowing from Black and Caribbean culture for attention. The merchandise made Backlash heavier. One of the main complaints was the Gothic-style lettering used for the White Boy Summer branding, which critics said looked too close to imagery associated with white nationalist groups. Chet later said he did not mean it that way and pushed back on racist readings of the slogan, but by that point, the damage was already done. The phrase had escaped his control, and far-right figures were already using it in their own way. There was also the 2021 legal fight with his ex-girlfriend Kiana Parker, which pushed his image even lower. Parker accused him of physical and verbal abuse, and the Texas judge granted a protective order after finding that family violence had occurred and that there was a clear and present danger of it happening again unless he was restrained by court order. Chet denied the allegations and later filed his own lawsuit against Parker, accusing her of theft and assault. A judge granting a protective order with that kind of language became one or more major reason people saw him as the unstable member of the family. Comparisons with his siblings have never helped him either. Colin Hanks built a more stable acting career, while his other siblings have generally stayed far quieter in public. Chet, by contrast, spent years becoming known as the Hanks child, most likely to go viral for the wrong reason. Running Point gave him a credible recent win, but it did not wipe away the damage from years of controversy. Chet Hanks is the violent disaster of his family, But Jaden Smith was pushed into a career that his own father called a painful failure. Jaden Smith began his career in 2006 when he appeared with his father Will Smith in The Pursuit of Happiness. The movie was built around a father and son trying to survive homelessness, so casting Will as real son gave the relationship an easy, natural feel on screen. Audiences responded well, and Jaden's performance helped him win an MTV Movie Award for Breakthrough Performance and a Teen Choice Award connected to the film. His parents' company, Overbook Entertainment, was already part of that first movie, and Jaden moved quickly into larger studio work after that. In 2008, he appeared in The Day the Earth Stood Still with Keanu Reeves and Jennifer Connelly. That film made money worldwide, but it did not leave the kind of cultural mark that turns a young actor into a major name overnight. The bigger breakthrough came with The Karate Kid in 2010. That remake made over $300 million worldwide, with well over $170 million from the United States and Canada alone. It also helped that the project had a similar title and Jackie Chan in a major supporting role, which gave the movie a built-in level of public interest before Jaden had fully proven himself as a box office draw on his own. Still, it would be unfair to say he was just standing there while the movie succeeded. He was the face of the film after all, and that success became the strongest acting win of his early career. The real collapse came with After Earth in 2013. M. Night Shyamalan directed it, Will Smith helped produce it, and the entire project clearly looked like an attempt to move Jaden into more serious leading man territory. The setup put enormous pressure on him. Will's character is injured early and spends much of the story guiding his son from a distance, which leaves Jaden carrying most of the film's visible action and emotional weight. However, the movie ended with a 12% score on Rotten Tomatoes. It earned about $60 million in the United States and Canada and about $244 million worldwide against a reported budget of about $130 million. Even with that worldwide total, it was still widely seen as a disappointment because the costs were high and the reviews were very poor. The backlash hit both father and son, but Jaden took a lot of the public embarrassment directly. At the 2014 Razzie Awards, he won Worst Actor. Will won Worst Supporting Actor, and they were also named Worst Screen Combo. Later, Will Smith called After Earth the most painful failure of his career. He said it hurt more because his son was part of it, which gives some idea of how badly the project landed inside the family as well as outside of it. Will later revealed in his memoir that the fallout was so bad that Jaden, at 15, asked about becoming an emancipated minor, which means legally separating himself from his parents before turning 18. He ultimately did not do it, but the fact that the idea even came up says a lot about how painful that period was. By Will's own account, Jaden felt misled and lost trust in his father after the movie's public failure. At nearly the same time, the family name took another hit because of the New Village Leadership Academy, the private school Will and Jada helped back for their children and other students. The problem was not just that the school used an unusual teaching style, but part of its lessons came from study technology, a system created by L. Ron Hubbard, the man who founded Scientology. That raised alarms because Scientology has spent years under criticism from former members and critics who say it uses controlling practices and goes after people who speak against it. Because of that history, people did not see this as a harmless classroom method, especially in a school for children. But Jada denied that the school was tied to Scientology. And that made it look like the family was hiding how closely the academy was tied to Hubbard's ideas. When the school shut down in 2013, it added another ugly controversy to a period that was already bad for the family's image. After that stretch, Jaden gradually shifted more of his attention into music and fashion. Acting was no longer the main center of his public image the way it had seemed it might become in 2010. His debut studio album, Sire, arrived in 2017 and got mixed reactions. Some reviewers saw real ambition and flashes of talent in it, while others thought it felt self-serious and messy. Even so, the album helped him build a fan base that was interested in his own style, not just the family name. In September 2025, Christian Louboutin announced Jaden Smith as the brand's first men's creative director, a real top-level title at one of the best-known luxury labels in the world. That appointment immediately brought nepotism criticism because Jaden did not come from the usual technical design path that people expect for a role like that. His first men's fall-winter 2026 collection did not calm those doubts. The debut featured bold, unconventional pieces that quickly drew attention online. Some fashion coverage treated the collection seriously and pointed out its theatrical ideas, while some of the internet reaction mocked it and used it as another example in the nepotism debate. As of March 2026, he still holds the Christian Louboutin role, which means the industry has not pulled back from that bet, even if plenty of people still question it. Jaden Smith's acting career hit a painful failure his father later regretted, but Lily Rose Depp became the face of a show that people saw as shallow, disturbing, and deeply embarrassing. Lily Rose Depp entered film and fashion young, and people questioned almost immediately whether that rise was based on talent, access, or both. She is the daughter of Johnny Depp and Vanessa Paradis, and her first screen credit came in 2014 with a tiny role in Kevin Smith's Tusk. That part was small enough that it did not prove much on its own, but it led directly into Yoga Housers in 2016, where she had a co-lead alongside Harley Quinn Smith, the director's daughter. At the same time, modeling gave her a much steadier platform than acting. In 2015, at age 16, she was named a Chanel ambassador for the brand's Pearl Eyewear collection, and Karl Lagerfeld openly praised her as a young star. Her acting career looked more serious in Europe than it did in Hollywood during those early years. In 2016, she played Isadora Duncan in La Danseuse and built a reputation as someone who might work better in French language and art house projects than in mainstream American studio material. In late 2022, Lily Rose Depp became one of the main faces of the Nepo baby backlash. Her response only made it worse. She said the internet cares more about who your family is than casting directors do, and compared it to a doctor's child becoming a doctor. A lot of people felt that answer completely missed the point. In June 2023, The Idol arrived on HBO and turned that skepticism into something harsher. The show was created by Sam Levinson, Abel, The Weeknd, Tesfaye, and Lily Rose had the main role as Jocelyn, a troubled pop star. The project came in with attention, controversy, and big expectations, especially after its Cannes launch. The reviews were rough. Rotten Tomatoes tracked the first wave of reaction as highly negative, and Metacritic also landed in weak territory. Critics complained about the show's emptiness, its fixation on sex and shock value, and the sense that it wanted to look provocative more than it wanted to say anything sharp. It was badly reviewed and quickly became a major disappointment. The Cannes response added to the damage. Reviews coming out of the festival described the show as slick and expensive looking, but shallow, gross, and dramatically weak. That early public beating mattered because it hit before regular viewers had even seen the full season. The series became a punchline fast, and Lily Rose could not avoid taking part of that hit because she was the face of it. Some critics singled her out as one of the few parts of the show that actually worked, even when they disliked the series overall. The Idol hurt her image as a lead on a major television event, but it did not erase the fact that some reviewers still saw screen presence in her performance. Lily Rose Depp was mocked for her failure on HBO, but Ishana Night Shyamalan bypassed the entire struggle by letting her father hand her a $30 million movie as a graduation gift. Ishana Night Shyamalan got her start inside a film family. She is the daughter of M. Night Shyamalan, and her early professional rise happened through projects connected to her father's work. On Apple TV Plus's Servant, she wrote or co-wrote 10 episodes and directed 6 episodes, which is a remarkable amount of hands-on experience for someone still in college. M. Night himself said that he encouraged her to take a semester away from NYU Tisch so she could jump into that opportunity, which makes it fair to say her training happened inside a real production machine rather than through the slower route most young filmmakers have to take. By 2021, she had finished NYU Tisch with credits that most film students would not come close to having at that age. On top of Servant, she also worked as a second unit director on Old in 2021 and Knock at the Cabin in 2023. Ishana herself described those experiences as a kind of classical training process or internship, where she learned how to work with people, shoot scenes, and light them. She did not simply appear from nowhere, but she also did not come up through the usual low budget grind that most first time directors have to survive. The nepotism conversation attached itself to her quickly. She moved from directing episodes of her father's series and working second unit on films straight into a studio backed feature debut. In 2023, New Line Cinema picked up The Watchers with Warner Bros., handling distribution, and Ishana was set to write and direct it as her first feature. That kind of launch is rare for a new filmmaker in her early 20s, so the suspicion was predictable even before anyone saw the movie. The Watchers was adapted from A.M. Shine's novel and released in June 2024. Dakota Fanning plays Mina, a woman trapped in an Irish forest who needs help hiding in a shelter while mysterious creatures watch outside at night. M. Night Shyamalan also produced the film, so I suppose the mysterious creatures were watching from the M Night. The reaction was mixed to negative. The Watchers holds a 33% critic score on Rotten Tomatoes, and Metacritic lists it at 46. Some critics were clearly negative, while others were more generous and treated it as an uneven but promising first feature. The film disappointed many reviewers, but it was not met with total rejection from every critic who saw it. Where the praise did show up was the visual side of the film. Even the pieces that were mixed on the script often noticed the mood, the woods, the eerie setup, and the effort put into the tension and image making. ABC's interview described the familiar Shyamalan traits in the film's atmosphere, red herrings, and twist structure, while some positive critics on Metacritic treated Ishana as a filmmaker with real potential, even if the movie was imperfect. People saw technique and visual instinct there, even when they did not believe the script fully delivered. The nepotism talk also landed harder because the movie arrived during a period when people were already irritated by famous children moving into high-level creative jobs quickly. Ishana did not deny the privilege. In interviews, she openly said she thinks about it every day in the creative process and tries to honor it through work ethic. She also said the nepotism label is often used in a more gendered way against young women than against men. She admitted the advantage, but argued that the only answer is to work hard enough to justify the chance. Let me know what you think in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe, or your parents might start calling you a painful failure.